Hi guys, it's Claire. Welcome to the first tutorial of Johanna Basford's Enchanted Forest piece. You can see I've got the design out in front of me. You'll have seen from previous Facebook posts that I've made in the last few days, if you've been following, that this is the piece we've picked to do because we're going to be having a look at how to colour in light sources. So we're actually going to have 5 light sources in this piece, and I'm just going to grab my pencil and I'll point them out to you. So we're going to have a light source from the moon, which I've put in this corner, which I'll talk about in a second. So that's one. We're going to have another 2 light sources from these 2 windows here. Again, I'll come back to those in a second. So that's 3 light sources. Then we've got a lantern here, which is our 4th. And then we've got the open door here, which I'm going to make into our 5th light source, because clearly there's lights on in the room, so the lights would be coming out of the front door. So it sounds complicated, but it's not. We will go through it step by step. I think there'll probably be about 7 or 8 tutorials in order to finish this piece. So we'll just take it step by step and you'll see how easy it is as we go along. So what I've done is, you can probably see that I've removed my page from my book. My original that I completed is framed, but because obviously I've already completed it, I'm actually using this. This is from my spare Enchanted Forest book, which is why I've actually taken it out. I've just used a very sharp craft knife and a ruler because I find it easier to work on just a flat surface, but clearly you'll be working in your books or on the printouts that you downloaded with the kind permission of the Inky Studio. So what I want to do is just quickly go over what we've done already. So you will have seen on the Facebook posts that I'd asked you to pre-colour in these 2 windows here. And I know you've used a variety of methods to do it, but what I used was just 2 to 3 layers of this yellow Posca pen. It's a 0.7mm nib, and it's kind of like a bullet tip. And that'll take about 2 or 3 layers with about half an hour drying time in between. Put that to one side. And then what I've done is I've just got a nondescript silver gel pen. This is actually a silver glitter gel pen, but it doesn't have to be. And all I've done is quickly go over the leaded frames of the window there, because we'd covered it in the paint pen. Okay, so I'll put that to one side as well. So you can see I've pre-coloured the moon. All that is a very, very simple blend of some PrismaColour pencils, which I'll give you in a second. The reason I've pre-coloured it is because what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at colouring in this door here, and then we're going to do the light source coming out of the door. So we're kind of going to be going round in an arc here with various coloured pencils, and the technique that I'll show you how to do that is the exact same technique that you would use to just go and do the moon. So that's why I've not taped myself doing this bit here, because once you've seen how to do the light source coming out of the door, you'll be able to replicate that in exactly the same way for this moon in the top left hand corner. So the colours that I've used for the moon, and don't worry about writing these down, I will list them in the Facebook and the YouTube tutorial posts. But just to give you an idea, I'm using PrismaColour pencils. You'll be able to, I would say, match pretty well with the sets that you've got, no matter what brand you're using. But for the moon itself, what I've done is just took a very, very old-fashioned compass and put my black PrismaColour pencil in it and just made myself a little quarter of a circle there. I put my compass in the very corner and just drew myself a nice kind of quarter circle shape in black pencil in my compass. And the reason I've done it in black is because the background is going to be black, so by the time we've coloured all of this in and it's jet black, it'll just melt into this outline here. So then what I've got is I've got just 2 strips of block colour. So this yellow that you see, and then there's a cream, and they're just block colours, they're not blended in any way. The outer yellow is deco yellow, and then the inside yellow is a cream. It's the PrismaColour cream pencil. Then what I've got is 4 shades of grey blended across to this corner point, which is 10% warm grey, which is the lightest one. Then I've got 20% warm grey, 30% warm grey, and then 50% warm grey in the corner. But like I say, the blending technique for this we'll learn when we do the door in a second. Right, okay, let's start with the actual door itself, and then what we'll do is we'll put the light in afterwards. So for my door, I'm going to be using yellow chartreuse, spring green, apple green, grass green and peacock green. And again, as we go through, you'll see the colours that I'm using, so you'll be able to match them up pretty well from other sets that you've got. Okay, so I'm just going to grab those pencils that I've got out here, and I've also got my blender pencil ready. Now I think what I'll do is, just before we start, because I wanted to show you, oh sorry, no, I have missed one thing out. Pebbles, I've pre-coloured these pebbles. I've chosen to use lilacs and purples. The colours that I've used, again, I'll list them. We've got, from light to dark, we've got greyed lavender. We've got lavender, which is this pinky colour here. Then we've got lilac. We've got Parma violet, and then the deepest one is violet. And what I've done is, I've tried to use, these are just block coloured, they're not blended, which is why I've not videoed it. Dead simple, all you've got to do is block colour them in. The only thing that I would advise you to do is where the light sources are going to be, so coming out of the door and this window here, just try to use the lightest shades nearest where the light sources would be, which are, so the two lightest ones are the greyed lavender and the lavender. So you can see that I've put the two lightest colours around the door, the open door and underneath the window, and then further out, further away from the light sources, I've used the Parma violet, and right over here at this side I've got the violet colour. So yes, now let me zoom in and we'll get a little bit closer to that door area so you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better. Just bear with me. Let's have a look. Yes, you can see that pretty well, I think. I want you to see the bottom of the page like that. That's great. Okay, so I have in my hand the 5 colours I'm doing for my door. As I say, they're yellow chartreuse, spring green, apple green, grass green and peacock green. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the lightest one, which is the yellow chartreuse. And what we need to think about is clearly the light coming from this part of the house is furthest into the house. So this area is going to be the lightest. So what we're going to do is try and colour in kind of bands from light to dark, from this corner to this corner, and kind of grade these leaves in light to dark shades of green, so that this part of the door here, which is nearest the light source, will be lighter, and as we get further away from the light source, this part of the door you would expect to be in shadow, so we're going to do it in a slightly deeper shade of green. So let's get cracking. So I've got my yellow chartreuse, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark out just a very light mark, because we're going to be blending. I'm going to just lightly, and I'm not pressing hard, I'm just going to lightly kind of mark out on these top leaves here in the top left of the leaf door. I'm just going to kind of mark out where I want my lightest colours to be, so where that light from inside of the room would hit these leaves the most. So I think about there. Then what I'm going to do is, so that's my marker line. And if you've watched my blending videos before, that's the technique that I use. I make like a little marker of where I want the colour to go. So inside here, we're going to press quite firmly. And I'm going to leave myself my little strip of the light touch. But inside that, just with a quite firm hand, just colour that in like that. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take my next green, which is chartreuse, and I'm just going to lightly go over a bit of the yellow chartreuse colour. So I'm not pressing hard, so it blends quite well. And then for these bottom bits, I am going to press on quite hard like that. So we get that nice blend, but we've got the gradation in colour going from light to slightly darker here. Make this top part all this green colour. This leaf here, again, I'm not pressing very hard over that previous colour, pressing hard there. So on this leaf, I'm gonna, again, because remember we're gonna try and go around in bands. So I'm gonna mark myself out with my chartreuse, a light hand there, and again pressing firmer. And again on this leaf here, just make myself a little marker and go over that bit a little bit more firmly. And on this bottom leaf, I'm just going to lightly go over the yellow chartreuse band there and then press on hard at the bottom. And you'll see it's a really good technique for blending. I'm just going to do the tip of this leaf like that. So what I can do is, I can now put my first colour down. I've got all of my greens in my hand. I'm now going to put my yellow chartreuse can go to one side because I'm finished with that for the time being. Now I've got my third green, which is my spring green, and you can see these are getting quite small, my pencils now. You can use a pencil extender if you wanted to. And then I'm just going to do it, I'm going to repeat the same process. So I'm just going to go over this piece lightly and then harder towards the bottom, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to go back to my chartreuse and just press hard, and over that variation in colour, just blend that away like that. Back to my spring green. Colour this little bit in block here. Light hand over that edge, firmer hand on this side. Down here, again, light touch, firmer hand. I'm going to go back to my my chartreuse. Just blend over that line there. And you can use your blender pencil as much as you want to get as good a finish as you want to, but just for the sake of the video, I'll just keep blending it as well as I can with just my pencils. So I'm back to my spring green because I'm just going to start this leaf off here in spring green. So again, just a light marker, pressing on harder in this bit, and again on there. And I'm actually going to do, I think, make myself a little marker on this leaf here. And press hard on this bit. Now you could, if you want, all of these lovely little segments you've got here, you could colour them in gel pen, or have like the highlights at the middle of the leaves or the segments. But just because I wanted to show you how this blending technique works in terms of where the light hits, I just thought I'd leave it in plain colours. So I'm going to go to my fourth green, which is apple green. Exactly the same process. Over the previous colour, edge, light hand, and then firmer. Same up here. I'm going to fill that little bit in. So you can see that as we're going across from light to dark, it does make a really nice effect because the light from inside is hitting the leaves. Same here, light touch, firmer, light touch, firmer right at the bottom. So I'm going to quickly go back to my spring green, just blend over those lines like that. So I've got my apple green, and I'm just going to start these leaves off here. Again, same principle, I'm just going to mark myself out a little band. So firmer hand there, like that. Then I'm going to take my next green, which is my grass green. Same principle, lightly over this. Oh, and my pencil snapped. That was good. I'm just going to quickly give it a sharpen. There we go. So again, over this lighter touch from the apple green, just lightly, gently go over that there, and then press on harder to the bottom of this leaf. Same here, gently, gently over this bit, pressing on harder there. And I'm going to quickly go back to my apple green, just blend that away there. So pressing quite hard, going over that variation in colour. And you can see you don't really need a blender pencil, to be honest, because the colours you're picking are so well matched. If you just follow that basic technique, you're pretty much sorted. Grass green, so I'm just going to do this very top bit in grass green, again lightly over that variation, a little bit harder there. And then for this very corner of that door there, which would be the most in shadow, I've got my peacock green, which is the darkest of the green I had picked out. Gently over that bit, and then just block colour all of that in. And that is a leaf door in the light. It's as easy as that. There we go. Now what we're going to do is, for the rest of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make the light come out of this door and kind of make it in lovely bands here. And we're going to be using the same colours, because what I've got in my head is that during the daytime this is all grass outside the tree house, and in the night time you would see part of that grass where it's lit up from inside and from where the window is. And then as the further you get away from the light source, we're going to grade it out into grey. So we're going to go from yellow through to green and then through to grey, and then right on these outside edges, because we've got a black background, those greys will melt into black eventually when we get to the end tutorials with the black background. So let's do the light coming from the door. So as I say, we're using a lot of the same colours, so I'll just quickly read them out. So this time I've got, so thinking about from here, where the lightest part of the room will be, I've got neon yellow, and then I'm going to take that through lemon yellow. Then we're going to use all the same greens that we've just used for the door. So we're going to use yellow chartreuse, spring green, apple green, grass green and peacock green. And then I'm going to blend the darkest peacock green into grey. So I've actually got out on my desk the 70% warm grey and then the 90% warm grey, which is almost black. And that's how we'll blend that into the black background at the end. So I'm just going to take, for the start of this, I'm just going to take my neon yellow and my lemon yellow. And I'm going to take my neon yellow first. And you only want a tiny bit of this, because what you want to do is, I'm going to mark myself out a little light touch there in neon yellow, and this will just make that inner part of the room the brightest. And then with a firmer hand there, press on a little bit harder. And you don't need a lot of neon, you don't want it really bold and in your face, you just want it kind of a little bit to just recognise that that's the lightest part of the room. And that's it, I can put my neon pencil down. So I'm going to go to my lemon yellow, and I'm going to take my lemon yellow to about, I think, here. So again, light touch, just a little line across there like that. Firmer over this joint here, and then pressing firm for this block colour here. I'm just going to quickly go back to my neon actually and just blend a tiny bit over there, like that. Okay. Now what I want to do is, with my yellow chartreuse, so this is the lightest green that we've just used, I'm going to, because light falls in light travels in kind of like bands, in circular bands, which is what the effect that I want to have coming out of this door. So what I'm going to do is, and you don't have to have a protractor or anything like that or a compass, all I'm going to do is just lightly mark myself out a little circle around the door like that, taking care to avoid these pebbles. So I'm not pressing hard. You can see I've just made myself a little arc around there like that in the yellow chartreuse, just my marker. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lemon yellow slightly further down So I think I'm going to take my lemon yellow to the bottom of the door there. Because I want it to be nice and bright. So this is just block colour. And then I've left myself a lighter strip there. Okay. So back to the yellow chartreuse. I'm going to make a gentle mark over that lemon yellow colour there. I mean, you can see they're fairly close together in like a family of colours, so you'll probably find that they blend quite well. And it's exactly the same blending technique that we did in tutorial 1 of the Okapi picture, but we're actually blending, because we're using light, we're going to blend in circular features. So rather than kind of down or across blending, we're going to use this circle so that it really makes that torchlight effect. So I've got my light area here, my light area here, everything in between I'm going to use a much firmer hand. Just being careful of these pebbles. Like that. And you can see now why I tried to use the lightest colour of the purple, because the lightest colour of the purple here will be where the lightest colour of the grass is outside the house. So it's just kind of trying to think in your head where the light is going to hit, and then you can plan all of your other things around it. Which is why I wanted to show you where the 5 light sources will be before we started, because then as I go along, what I'm doing will make sense in terms of how I'm grading the colour to colour it in. And then I'm going to quickly go back to my lemon yellow and just over this join line here, pressing medium hard. So that line between the lemon yellow and the yellow chartreuse, I'm just blending away. And you can see I'm not even using a blender pencil because they're so closely matched. And if you use that blending technique, you may not even need to. So I'm going to put my lemon yellow down. I'm going to go to my chartreuse. And again, I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. So maybe about 1 centimetre. I'm just going to do myself a light little marker here. And I'm just doing this arc by eye. You just follow this line round. That. Same principle over the join of the yellow chartreuse, light hand, minding the pebbles, light touch, just going over that, and then everything in the arc, this band, we will block colour in a medium firm hand. And if you feel like you want, as you do this, because you're working in an arc, if you wanted to move your book round as you go, that can help. Clearly, because I've got you in shot on the camera, I can't do that because I need to keep the paper in one place. But you will find, I certainly did, because I coloured my first one in my book. I didn't remove it till I'd finished it and framed it. But you will probably find it easier to move your book around to follow this angle as you're going. I'm just going to go back to my yellow chartreuse, and again, where these 2 colours meet, I'm pressing quite hard and just blending that variation in colour away. Like that. There we go. I think I'm just actually going to make this slightly more, my shape here, over here isn't quite right, so I'm just going to sketch that to be slightly more arced, like that. And don't be scared. Don't be scared to kind of go back and readjust your light shapes. Because as I say, I'm just doing this by eye, and you'll be able to as well. But just don't be afraid to kind of look at this line and think, that's not quite circular. And if you wanted to use a compass, you could do. But I'm just doing it like this. Okay, so I can put my yellow chartreuse down now, and I'm going to go to my spring green. Same principle. Mark myself out. A little marker. Just scumbling a little marker here, and you'll go off the edge of the page at this point. Scumbling a little marker there, like that. I'm just going to quickly see you've got that in shot. Yes, you have. I'm going to go over this line here. Light touch, just over the previous colour. And you'll get it by now. And when I was talking about the moon earlier, this is exactly the same principle of how you blend that moon in a lovely circular shape. So those yellows that I read out to you, they're just block colours, but when you're blending those 4 shades of grey, this is exactly how you do it. So you'll be able to go away having done this first and then put the moon in as well. I try to kind of pre-do as much as I can without repeating to you portions of what we've done. And then it makes the videos kind of a reasonable length. So again, and everywhere between these 2 bands here, firmer hand, minding the pebbles. And I've actually got myself some white paper underneath because I know I'm going to go off the page, and it's handy because I can just do that. So you can see obviously when I lift it up, it's just gone onto the paper underneath, but it helps. So again, you're just making that lovely catch light almost. So you imagine this picture's going to be in the dark, but in the daytime, this tree house has a grassy lawn. And because it's lit up from inside and from this lantern here, you would see the grass even though it's in the dark. Back to my chartreuse, over this join here, blending, firm hand. Just going to blend that away. And as I say, you can use your blender pencil to just get a really, really seamless line. Like that. And what I'll do is after the video, I'll probably go back and just use my blender pencil over all of these lines, especially when it gets a little bit darker, just to blend it out a little bit more. But you get the idea, and you'll be able to blend it to your heart's content in your own time, at your own leisure. Okay, so I'm going to go to my apple green. Same thing. Little band like this. Apologies if you can hear my Dalmatian, he won't shut up today. It's a good job he's cute. There we go. And what I think I'll do for time's sake, for the further colours that we'll do and grading out into grey, I'll just do it across here on this side. And I'm just checking that you can see that on the camera. Yes, you can. And what I'll do is after the tutorial, I'll go away and repeat it on this side. But just for time's sake, I'll show you how to grade it out to grey over here, and then you can do the same on this side. So if I just concentrate over here. So again, same principle, apple green, light touch over this edge, like that. Everything in between, press firmer. Like that. I'm going to go back to my spring green and just blend over this join, pressing quite hard. And blending really is quite easy when you use this technique. It's just a question of getting used to how firm and how light you press on the page for the best effect. But your blender pencil will help you out as well. Okay, So I'm going to go to my grass green, about a centimetre, mark myself out a little line there, light hand over here, and you'll get the idea now, I'm sure you will. Everything in between, minding the pebbles, firmer touch. Back to my apple green. I'm going to press firmly and go over this join. Like that. And I'm just going to darken up that grass green a little bit. Just in the middle. That's better. And I'm going to go to my last green colour, which is peacock green. Mark myself out my little centimetre. And then once we've finished this, we blend it into grey. And that's as far as we'll take it for today. And as I say, I will go back and do this bit in exactly the same way that we're doing over here, in exactly the same colours. So light touch over this piece. Like that. Just being careful of these blades of grass and my pebbles. Pressing hard, so in between again, in between those two lines, you can see I'm pressing hard because there's more colour coming off the pencil. Like that. And again, I'm just trying to follow that line of the semicircle so that it really looks like the light is coming out in all directions. Quickly back to my grass green, pressing firmly over that join. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to pick up my two grey pencils. And I'm just going to quickly check that you can see over here. Yes, you can. So now I'm going to take my 70% warm grey. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to mark myself out my little line. And because I want to take green through to black, which it's going to be a black background, this picture, because it's night time. Because I want to take green through to black, the best way to do that is through grey. Now sometimes your colour wheel will tell you that, sometimes it's just a case of trial and error. But I've found that if you want to take green through to black, grey is the best way to do it. So again, over this, just lightly. Lightly. And then in between, we press on a little bit harder, making ourselves a little outline around those pebbles. Like that. Go back to my darkest green, which is my peacock green. Just go over this line. And because you're going from green to grey, you probably will need a blender pencil to help you with this, because you're not within one family of colours, you're not within like greens. But if you use this blending technique and your blender pencil, you'll be absolutely fine. I'm just going to go back with my grey, medium firm, and I will use my blender pencil on this after we finish the tutorial, I think, just to get that seamless effect, but you get the idea. Okay, and then we're going to go for our last colour for today's tutorial, which is 90% warm grey, and it is virtually, you can see it's virtually black. And I'm just going to make myself a little marker, because right at the end tutorial, when we do the black background, we're going to blend this 90% grey out into black, completely black over here, because it's furthest away from these light sources. So again, just lightly over this bit. the 70%. And then everything in between gets that lovely dark colour, firmer hand. And the reason I'm doing the black last is because if you're doing a black background, you're putting an awful lot of pigment onto the page. Some backgrounds you can do first. Pastel backgrounds I would actually advise you to do first. But black backgrounds, because you're putting so much pigment on the page, especially because I'm going to show you how to use an art stick as well, which is the inside of a PrismaColour pencil. It's just a block of PrismaColour pencil without the wood out on the outside of it. You won't have to have it to finish the tutorial. You can use your black pencil, but I wanted to show you how to use an art stick. But because you're putting so much pigment, going back to my 70% grey, pressing firm, because you're putting so much pigment on the page, there's a tendency to really smudge it all over the place. So if I'd have pre-coloured this in black, by the time I'd finished, there would be black all over these yellow bits. It would be all over the tree. So we're going to save the black background for last. And that is how to make light coming out of the door. So I'll do the same over here when we're finished. This part will be black, but as you can see, we've got that lovely light effect. So you can imagine the lights on, the TV's on, the fire's on, everybody's cosy inside, and it just gives you that lovely, lovely light effect coming out of that door. So we'll leave it there for today. I think what we'll look at tomorrow is, I think we'll probably have a look at either the lantern light, or what I might do is show you how to do the mushrooms here and here, bearing in mind the light that will be coming from the lantern. It will catch the corner of these mushrooms here. So we might have a look at that tomorrow. But as I say, any questions on this tutorial, just drop me a line on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. Thanks ladies, bye for now.